Hello? Hi, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Can I get a sound check? Check, check, 1, 2, check, 1, 2.
Hey, Veronica, the one you just sent out via email form was the one from the agenda, correct?
Yeah, because that's where I copied it from. I send it out again.
All right, cool.
You probably should have just changed it.
There were two emails and there were two corresponding meeting IDs different for the same date.
What were the dates of the emails?
First one was April 26th.
April 26th was the invite.
Yep.
Chance, you're muted.
Yeah, I think that one on the invite was different than what I put on the agenda.
Correct, yeah.
How was that? I copied it that day when I gave it to you.
I don't know.
You know, Veronica, I think the one that was not the one that Chance is talking about, the other one, I think was used for the prior months.
Yeah,
Zoom.
there was another invite that came out. Well, nevertheless, everybody has the new one.
Right.
Hey gang, Chance, I didn't get a chance to reach out to you before. Are we gonna have a quorum?
Yeah, I think so, Clark. Hang tight. Looks like we've got two different Zoom links floating out there, so we're trying to get everyone over here. All right, hang tight, guys. Sorry. right, looks like we don't have any more people on here, do we? All right, hang tight.
Hold on, I just got an email from Terry. I'm gonna copy and paste again.
Chance, it appears there's only, what, 4 of us. Should we change to the other?
I don't think it's letting people on. That's the problem. It's saying there's a meeting already in place.
Exactly.
Should we all jump off and?
Hang tight, hang tight. Hey, Veronica, you on?
I am.
Is the one you just sent out via email the same one from the Zoom invite? Because that's the wrong one. That's the one that's not letting people on, I don't think.
That's the one I just sent to you. All right, let's just, oh God, hold on.
Not fair, Chance. You can't vote twice. Oh, that's right. You don't get to vote.
Anything I can do to help, Clark. Either way, man.
Yeah, let me have another login. Maybe I can get 2 of me up there.
All right, we got a few more folks coming in.
All right, good.
I'm trying to get Ryan on, man. He's having some complications. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 with Ray, it looks like.
There's Ray.
And then Ryan's getting some complications. I'm not sure why he can't get in. All right, Ryan. Oh, Holly's in.
Terry's looking for the other meeting ID and passcode. She just texted me.
Is it the one that you guys are using is 844-8727-0758?
Yes.
And passcode is 2. I think they're still looking at the old email. Hold on, I'll send it as an email instead of a
All right,
reply
looks
to
like we
them.
got Ryan. We might be good, Veronica.
No, Terry has emailed me and so has Elizabeth.
Terry's on now.
Oh, okay.
We
Hey,
got
Clark,
Terry.
I think we got quorum now.
Yeah, that last email you sent out, Veronica, that one linked. The other one was saying meeting in progress.
Okay, I still have Nancy and Elizabeth trying to get in. Hold on.
Yeah, we got Nancy in.
Nancy's on there, yeah.
So it looks like maybe Elizabeth's the only one. But
Okay.
It looks like we've got quorum. And Clark, I'd be happy to cast a vote if you need me to, man. Just let me know what you need me to do, Mr. Chairman. It's a Monday, so I just need to get Monday over with. So however fast we can do it, you give me the call.
I hear you. All right. Well, what about Tom Davis? Was he going to be able to be on?
No, Tom couldn't make it, Mr. Chairman. Him and Tom and John Sneed, I think, were the 2 that I got responses from that weren't available.
Okay. All right. So that's 10, 11 with me. Who are we missing? Anyone? We got Bobby, Christopher, Terry, Nancy, Ray, Bill, Ryan, Elizabeth, myself. That's 9. Thomas is 10. Sneed is 11.
Rosalind.
Rosalind, that's right. Okay.
There still should be 2 more.
I just want to make sure we give everybody adequate time to get on because this is an important issue. And it's something that we need to give considerable attention. Elizabeth, I'm looking at the list. So Teresa is out, and I don't think she's been replaced yet. So Teresa's the only one. Teresa's position, large property owner, is the only one that is not with us that we know about. Tom Davis is out, and John Sneed is out. Okay,
Yep,
so
Rosalind was out last week, maybe in 2 previous weeks, or 2 previous meetings. So
all right, well, let's go ahead and get started. I appreciate everybody taking the time last week to hear from City Manager and Chief of Police about the issue that we want to talk about today, which is just the recommendation that city staff is going to make to City Council to fund 2 additional police officers with MSD funds. And I wanted to talk about that. I have some fairly strong feelings about that. And I sent out an email to everybody last week regarding my feelings on that. So I wanted to talk about it and see. I think this committee should make a response to that recommendation, and that response, well, we'll decide on what that response should be, but it is my hope that we come up with an unequivocal response to the suggestions that were offered by city staff. So I'll open it up to anybody else that wants to talk first. Again, I have my feelings about it, but I don't want to hog the time because I have fairly strong feelings about it. Bobby, you and I have had several conversations. What are your thoughts?
Okay, we've had several conversations, and I know it was discussed last week, Clark, and you were not here, but the infrastructure that's at the north end with the Pier 33 flats on front, they have a tax moratorium for brownfield. It is coming, it will change each year for the next 5 years. So based on that, there should be sufficient funds to offset the $160,000 needed for the 2 extra offices that MSD, that the city has proposed for MSD to pay for. Actually, one is in our budget, 81,000 is not in our budget. At this point, they want to raise the tax a penny. I'm not in favor of that at all. We do have some, we had some discussion, Clark, of how you could word the question of yay or nay. I don't know if you're going to bring that up later.
Yeah, to me, the first question is, should the MSD pay for on staff, on duty, city police officers? I have spoken to several MSDs throughout the state, and I've talked to several people who are familiar with MSDs throughout the state, and none of the MSDs pay for on-duty police officers. You know, one of the basic services that any municipality is to provide is policing for their community, and that's what our property tax pay for. And if additional areas if certain areas need additional services, it still should be covered by everybody in the community, not just a select few. And you know, every time there's an event in Creekwood or Gervais or these other areas, the city has to respond to those. And me, as a property owner who does not live in Gervais and does not live in Creekwood, I recognize that my property taxes go to help police in those areas. And I feel like that our property taxes should do the same thing for the MSD. If additional policing is needed, and I'm not saying it's not, it probably is. With all the activity that's going on, it probably is. But my concern is that the MSD was never envisioned by somebody who's been in it since 2010. It was never envisioned to be an additional pool of money for the city to pay for the services that they're supposed to provide. These are for additional services, and that's my beef with the whole thing. Regarding the brownfield agreement, that's yeah, when that moratorium comes up, there's more money there, but there's also more money going to the entire city. Again, why should just the members of the MSD pay for those additional services when they should be provided throughout the city? So that's in general, I disagree with the entire concept of taking additional tax funds beyond
Recording in progress.
beyond what we already pay to pay for additional policing if additional policing is needed. And to that matter, I also completely disagree with the idea of increasing the rate. I just think that's a bad policy. But in general, I think the question that this group has is, do we feel it reasonable to use MSD funding for additional services to pay for on-duty police officers?
Clark, I agree with you 100%. I'm against any further taxing in the MSD district. We're paying our full share now. I don't think it's a good idea that we hire our own police officers or the city's police officers, because we would think they'd be beholden to us, but I don't think that really, they promised that they would stay in our district. Well, if something's happening down the road up in Castle, so they're not going to, stay in our area. It's just a bad idea all the way around, and especially right now with all this continued construction going on, and anxiety of all the merchants, and not knowing now the season is upon us. It's still a war zone downtown. And this is not a good time to even bring it up, but I don't think that we should participate in this at all. Thank you.
Others?
Well, I obviously discussed it with a couple of city council. I did get permission to bring this up at the DBA board meeting this last week. And there's nobody that says, oh, this is a great idea, let's do it. They're all in agreement that, that especially downtown business owners, as we mentioned, our rent rates aren't in line with the other areas of downtown, and even the revenues in the restaurants and some of the businesses don't match what's in the surrounding area. So it's not like we're just rolling in the cash over here. I will tell you, my experience is when you've got the city manager on a call with us and chief of police, all we can do are make recommendations of how to work around this. I don't think that, we're not judicial, we're an advisory committee. I think the minds have already been made up. I think we're going to have to come up and document ways to offset this in the future. That's what my experience has been dealing with the city and advisory committee. So I don't think we ought to wrap up this meeting thinking whatever we decide is going to hold water, because it probably won't.
Other comments?
If that's the case, what is the value of the advisory committee if they're going to do what they want regardless? I think that our say at least should be influential, if not, if they don't follow it.
I would agree wholeheartedly with that, because if you look at the law that establishes the MSD, it specifically states that this type of committee is to be established to make recommendations. So I think it's, I agree, Terry, that people make up their minds, but I can tell you, I talked to 2 council members that had no idea that this was going on behind the scenes.
You're right.
So I do believe that our recommendation will and should carry some weight with the city council, who will make the final decision.
I can appreciate that, but we need to have some alternative, our views need to show, if we vote yes or no, say we don't want the tax increase? Can we alter the budget within the MSD to pay for the additional police officers needed? Things like that, so they just know we're flexible.
That would be a second step. If they do not take our recommendation, then look at altering the budget.
Correct.
Well,
But I think our first step is just to offer our opinion to their request.
I do have a question that was brought up. It was brought up at the last meeting, but I didn't understand the answer fully. Or there's a lack of officers. Like Wilmington PD is not fully staffed right now, correct? So they're short whatever amount of officers. So wouldn't there be funds to cover this if there's already a shortage? The salaries aren't being paid to ghosts. I mean, the funds are out there, correct? So I guess I'm confused on why this is even coming up.
You're right.
Lieutenant Nichols, can you answer that? You may not have the information.
Sir, you put me on the hot seat.
Yeah, I wouldn't
I
expect you to
cannot
have
say.
that information. I just thought I'd
I
ask.
wish I did, and honestly, that's a very good question. I'd love to hear the answer myself.
Well, y'all, that was my question. Chief presented, and he said there were 40 to 50 openings, and they were actively hiring. So that was my my question, which has not been answered. And Clark also asked us to speak with stakeholders, and very much opposed. And just a final comment, Clark got me thinking, why are we even okay with the one that's covered with the current funds? So that's kind of a broader, deeper question. Obviously, I'm against additional rate increase on the second, but maybe we should be thinking a little bit broader.
You know, I agree with what Elizabeth is saying, is that it was like they're taking for granted that we're going to use some kind of existing surplus in our current proposed budget to fund one of the two police officers without giving us the opportunity to see where else is there an opportunity that fits within the confines of what has been traditional MSD.
I agree.
And Clark, you mentioned about other cities, the Raleigh Downtown Alliance, in their document, it says it cannot be spent on municipal salaries. It doesn't allow for it. No.
Well, the people that I spoke to all said that they have hired off-duty police officers for events and things of that nature, and that seems very, very legitimate to me and very reasonable. And I certainly would get behind that sort of thing for events. I have a host of concerns. I will say my position at this point is to not use any funds, any surplus, any increase, no funds at all to be paid for the types of services that the city should provide in a general basis, and that's policing. So,
Want to make a motion to that effect?
Can you make that? I guess I can, but if someone else would make it, that's fine too. I've
Terry.
always wondered about the chair's position, whether a chair can make that.
Bobby,
type
if you would make it, Bobby, I think that'd be more appropriate.
Okay, so at this point, the motion on the floor is that we are against using municipal service district funds for any city MSD on-duty police officers.
Does this motion include the money they wanted for equipment and supplies? Or is it just for the
that
salaries?
would take everything off the table. And the city would provide the police officers, the equipment needed, et cetera, everything needed.
Yeah, I think it's as simple as what you first said. You're against using MSD funds, additional MSD funds to pay for on-duty city police officers. So that motion's on the floor. Any further discussion?
Should we also add, and any increase to the MSD tax as well?
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
Well, as it stands now, if we do not fund any on-duty city police officers, we still have a surplus with the current rate. So I don't know that we need to add that. I think that would be maybe a secondary motion, or as Bill suggested, is something we address if the city does not take our recommendation.
Well, I do think they're proposing both items at the same time, Clark. That was my interpretation. The funds to cover it and an increase, so it can't hurt for us to say no increase, no paying for staff.
Okay, so how would that sound? How would we write that? A motion against using MSD funds for any on-duty city police officers, and against any increase
Tax base.
In the MSD tax rate,
in current tax rate.
MSD tax rate.
MSD tax rate, correct. Bobby, you made the motion. Would you accept that as an amendment?
Yes.
Any further discussions with that?
Can I just make one more comment? And it goes back, I wouldn't have said it except for Terry brought it up. If the city council is going to come back and go forward anyways, what kind of things can we do? And maybe this is another meeting than currently, because I know we want to get this proposal passed. In
We lost you, Chris.
terms of providing some flexibility, I mean, I'm if you look at many cities, large and small, there's an auxiliary force. Now, that's never been contemplated in the city of Wilmington. But the question is maybe some of the activities which might be like on on-duty, off-duty police officers could be handled by auxiliary, and that might change the game. That's my only point. Looking at alternatives, which I'm sure we're going to turn down.
And Chance, you may not be able to answer this. Veronica, maybe, I don't know, but the way I understand this is that city staff is going to make a budget recommendation, and in that recommendation, there are a variety of recommendations to how to raise the money and how to spend the money. So their recommendation, their city staff's recommendation, will be presented sometime in the next couple weeks.
Yes, sir. The manager's budget will be first introduced via presentation tomorrow night. And within that first presentation, the manager and staff's recommendation is the 1 cent increase to the MSD tax rate and the funding of the 2 officers. That's included in that budget packet going to council in presentation form tomorrow night. Correct. Now, post presentation, there's a public hearing, and I believe at least 2 readings on the subject as well.
When is the public hearing?
Tomorrow night's not the final. Tomorrow is just the introduction via presentation before there's any action items later on.
And so when is
will our position be added along with that?
Chance, Bill's asking if our actions today would be a part of that budget package.
Yeah, per my understanding, as soon as this committee takes action and takes a motion and takes action on it, I will send that action conclusion to the budget director to have a comment in there regarding the MSD's opinion on this. I don't want to put you on the spot, but are you confirming that will happen, or
do we think it will happen?
Per my understanding, Clark, yeah, that will be part of the budget presentation tomorrow. So I was asked by the budget director on Friday what the resolution was from the group because she thought we were still having the meeting on Friday afternoon. And she wanted to know so she could put a comment in there. And I told her we had been postponed again until today.
All right,
I can't guarantee that'll happen, but my understanding is yes, MSD takes a yay or nay vote on here, and part of her presentation will be, hey, this is the city's recommendation, advisory committee is either in support or not support, and this is why.
Understood. Okay, so we have a motion on the floor with an amendment. The motion is that the Wilmington's Municipal Service District Advisory Committee is against using MSD funds for any city on-duty police officers, and we are also against any increase in the current MSD tax rate.
Second?
We will. Bill, would you like to second that?
Absolutely. Seconded.
Excellent. All right. All those in favor, raise a hand so it can be seen by Veronica. 6, 7, 8.
Sorry, my video's not on. It's
So
not
Ray,
working.
how do you vote?
I'll vote with everyone else.
All right, so that's a unanimous vote. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 in the affirmative.
All in favor.
There you go.
I think it might be important to also say with that it is a unanimous decision.
Yeah, unanimous decision.
I got that.
I really appreciate everyone's input, and as many of y'all, this kind of off the record, we voted, we know what we're doing, but this has been near and dear to me for a long time, and when I promoted this, the whole idea, we're doing slowly but surely. We're getting to the point where I was hoping we would be when we started this in 2010. The idea of paying for any types of city services, on-duty city employees, is really against everything that I talked about when I promoted this whole endeavor. I personally can get behind the idea of providing for some city services like additional sweepers. Their sweepers are already there, so if we pay for a couple of hours for their sleepers beyond what they're doing now, no problem. But the idea of opening up the slippery slope that is, hey, we've got a couple extra coins over here, let's use them, is a real problem. And I believe that this group, would set a real poor precedent if we agreed to do that. And as I said, I didn't want to say all this until after we made our vote, but it concerns me that this fledgling effort could go awry very quickly if we don't work desperately to make sure that we're providing the additional services that we all promised to provide to our stakeholders. So that's all I have to say.
Clark, I'd like to say something. Because I've been here since day one too, and the number. Well, first of all, the MSD was to only enhance city services. The only thing is though is that we've put out many surveys in the past, and the number one thing is safety, right? Next is cleanliness. Number one is safety. We have to figure out a creative way that, if we're not going to, fund more police downtown, we have to figure out a creative way that we can enhance safety, or at least maybe the perception of safety downtown. So I just want to add that. I mean, because I was definitely not in favor of the 1 cent increase, but I was kind of on the fence as far as the policemen go, extra police, because again, the number one thing that everyone has said in the past, that survey after survey, is safety. And, so.
I agree, Ray. This could be construed as if we don't care about safety. And that's not the case. I believe we do care about safety, and we, as you say,
Right.
we've demonstrated that.
And my thing is that we need to figure, if we're not going to fund police downtown, we have to figure out some creative way of, providing, safety for downtown. So.
Well, I agree, and maybe that's something that we should talk about as a group in our upcoming meetings. I will say that I have had some thoughts about the blue light call stations. I've been thinking about that along the Riverwalk in particular, because if you're on the Riverwalk and something happens, you have to travel a certain distance before you can get off the Riverwalk. And if you don't have a cell phone, or your cell phone, you dropped your cell phone or something, there's no real opportunity to contact anyone. So I had been giving some thought to trying to look into those phones like you see on college campuses, and maybe if we could develop some sort of pilot program and get that funded through the MSD funds, maybe with this surplus we're going to have next year. Maybe get that started and on the Riverwalk. Maybe we could expand it into other areas of the downtown. But those are the types of creative things I think we need to focus on that really are above and beyond what the city should be providing anyway. So I believe it makes sense that the MSD funds pay for that sort of thing.
I think the enhancement of our ambassador working with the homeless is a point where we could expand that. That would certainly add both appearance and safety.
Agreed. And comment, another issue that we've talked about before is the help me, Elizabeth, what's the hospitality districts, what was that called, the program?
Social
district.
Right, the open container district. And when Chief presented on this issue, he said, we need your money for more police officers because of the bars. So this is going to dovetail right into our open container district discussion. And one of my stakeholder meetings said, could there be a way to push this cost to the bars, or the bars that participate? And just one final comment, since we last met, I saw 2 cruisers and 3 police officers respond to an unsheltered person. Okay, that's something that Jack Morris might well do. So we are already financially benefiting law enforcement, whether it be sheriff or police, through his funded position.
I do want to add one thing, Guy. One of the things we're experiencing downtown in the bars at night, we are seeing a lot of underage drinkers late at night. And ironically, ALE shows up here when we have a concert to make sure that they're not smoking pot, but they don't show up here to help the policemen when we've got, midnight to 2 o'clock, crazy music going on and underage kids in there. And on 2 occasions, I've been made aware that it was an underage kid that brought a gun into one of these environments. So I don't know how we can put more pressure back on ALE, but they're not doing their job here.
All right. Any other comments? Our main focus of business was the recommendation, which we made and passed. Chance, Veronica, Chance, y'all will put that into a written form and present it to the city manager's office, as we understand. I would ask that you send it to all the members via email so that we know that that's happened.
Yes, sir.
So that business is taken care of. Any other issues or comments that we want to make?
No, Clark, this is Chance here. Just to piggyback on one of your comments about some additional, the blue light. I believe WFD and maybe with WPD is working on a potential phone system out there on the Riverwalk, if I'm not mistaken. So I'll try to get some more details for the group on that one.
That would be very interesting. And I, for one, as a member of this committee, would be willing I would be willing to see some of our funds go towards that. Because I do believe that's an additional service, additional infrastructure that would not be provided in other areas of the city. So
And
it makes sense.
just another comment on the budget. If I'm not mistaken, my math may not be 100% accurate, but if the recommendation from the staff and managers does not get through in this budget cycle with the increase, that would leave a potential surplus of roughly, I think, $78,000 and some change.
80,000, yeah.
That
Yeah.
would essentially roll into, budget reserve for this year and could be utilized. The committee would just have to, collectively decide what they want to use or just let it fall back in the fund balance and use it for a greater purpose moving forward.
Thank you, Chance. That I was thinking it was around 80,000. So
Yeah, it's roughly that. I may not have done my math right because I know there's some fund balance transfers and some stuff on those lines. So it's roughly 80,000.
All right, with that business taken care of and no further comments, entertain a motion to adjourn. So moved. Thanks, Nancy. A second. Bill, was that you saying second? All right. All right. With that, all those in favor, log off. See y'all.
Bye.
Thanks.
Hi, everyone.